So one of my favorites, as we talk about ego defense mechanisms, is this thing called gaslighting. And it comes from a movie. I think it was 1944 this movie was made. And in the movie, this husband decides that in order to, I think, acquire his wife's wealth or
Hmm.
some hidden gems or something, he decides to make her think she's crazy, and
Mm.
the way to call into question her mental stability. And so the way he does it is it takes place back in, I think it's the early 1900s, where homes were lit by gas lighting.
Hmm.
You have the gas flames that all the lighting around the house. It wasn't electric. So he would go into the basement periodically at odd times, and he would flicker the gas lights, flicker them on and off, like there's this haunting going on. And then later he'd go upstairs, and his wife would say, the lights are flickering. Do you see? He's like, well, sweetheart, no, I've been up here the whole time. There were no lights flickering. There's,
Huh.
are you okay? And so he would periodically do this and just add to it until this woman felt like she was going nuts.
So that's where that comes from?
That's where gaslighting comes from, was that 1944 movie called
Gosh,
Gaslight.
that's embarrassing. I use that phrase like 1,000 times a day, and I never even knew where it came from.
So as I look back on my addiction years, I did a little bit of this. Sometimes when I felt like my wife was getting too close to discovering some of the behaviors, the secret behaviors I was involved with, I would use a little bit of gaslighting technique
Hmm.
to make her doubt her intuition. Well, what were you doing at work late? Or I noticed that you got up last night and went downstairs. What were you doing? And so you use all of these diversion techniques, and you get them to doubt themselves, and where they question their thinking, their impressions, their intuition. And I've worked with a lot of clients over the years where I've had guys who were master gaslighters,
Hmm.
where when it's all said and done, the wife is like, I think I'm going completely crazy.
Yes.
I doubt everything now. I don't know what's right, what's true, what's not. And so it's an insidious tactic, quite
Yes.
frankly.
Yes.
But it's one, again, that we use as an ego defense mechanism to keep people from seeing the truth, to keep people from getting to what's really going on, because I
Hmm.
fear that if you really find out and you expose me, oh my gosh, my reputation's over, our marriage is over, my life is over. So again, it's to protect. It's a protection strategy, albeit a very destructive one. So I could go on a ton about all that, but Steve's going to talk in a second about an assignment to start looking at a lot of these ego defense mechanisms. But in essence, the place where we see this really start to deepen and become pretty severe is when we have traumas in our past. If I have past pain, especially as a kid, as a teen, and in order to soothe that pain and protect myself from further pain, we learn to use a lot of these strategies.
Yeah.
And it doesn't mean that we're weak or flawed or evil or worthless. It just means that we were survivors.
Yeah.
And you just simply learned how to protect yourself, how to put up walls and use strategies and tactics. And that worked in some sense as a kid. It helped us to get through those times. But when we carry those things into our adulthood, we're taking child strategies, old strategies that served us back then, and now we're bringing them into our important relationships. And quite frankly, they don't serve us any longer. And we need to try to get to the place where we ask, am I ready to grow beyond this? Am I ready to really look it in the face and start confronting all of these little survival strategies I've used, and start moving through and beyond them? And so that leads into our assignment
Yeah.
for this podcast, to start being willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, first of all, thank you for educating me on the gaslighting origins definition. I did not know that. That's pretty cool. But kind of just as a sidebar to that, before we jump into the assignment, all of these ego defense mechanisms that we're going to have posted on pbsc.podcast.com are all, by their very nature, insidious, deceptive, manipulative. But I would say gaslighting is kind of a double prize sort of a scenario in a negative way, where not only are we deflecting away from the actual issues, but that is when we call into question our own spouse's either character or sanity. and there really is an additional damaging effect with that. So needless to say, if you were to triage this, that would be definitely the first place to start, I think, in terms of mitigating those.
Yeah, and I was just saying, when we gaslight because we're just trying to protect ourselves at all costs, that's really where we take our spouse and we throw them under the bus.
Absolutely.
Because their whole well-being, their mental stability, their confidence in themselves, it's just all thrashed.
Mm-hmm.
And we're there willing and ready to do that simply because we're trying to protect our own egos.
Well, Mark, and I'm so glad I never did that. I'm glad that you were the only one between the two of us that ever. I joke about it now, but I've been plenty guilty of that also. All right, well, we'll move into the assignment here. So.